Hello, hello, hello. Happy PPI Tuesday. How's everyone doing today? Good morning, Sterling. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, John. Good morning, Mark. Who else we have in here? Thank you for putting in all the news and everything else. This one shocked me today. AWS to invest $5 billion to support 7,000 jobs annually in Mexico. Thought we were supposed to be bringing it back here. What else do we have? Hey, Royal Palms. Good morning. We'll see. I mean, people are celebrating. We're celebrating a bit earlier. The PPI better than expected, but the PPI is still rising. It's funny. It's like that car crash was bad as expected, but it was still a car crash. What else? Hello, Charles. All right. So we had business optimism index going up bigly today. Big jump. I think this is the highest in 6 years. You can see off the charts high ahead of Trump's inauguration. So that's for December. PPI, again, consensus was 0.3. This is month over month for December, coming in at 0.2, but still rising. Not rising as fast as prior, but that's not dropping. Core PPI coming in flat. That was about the best number you had because it's not rising. Year over year, instead of 3.8, it was 3.4 something prior, so depending on who you're looking at, it was 3.4 to 3.5. This coming in at 3.5, so the core's not dropping, and the headline PPI coming in at 3.3. Consensus was 3.4, but higher than prior of 3. So PPI numbers on a year-over-year basis are running above 3%. Now, PPI is more minor than CPI, but the input prices are not dropping. They're actually rising pretty substantially. And I think it bottomed in July, and we've been rising substantially since July of this year on each subsequent month. So very interesting from a PPI, but tomorrow we have CPI. More important, we got Redbook pulling back 4%. Now we have some Fed speak for the rest of the day, but it's pretty quiet. Pretty quiet day to finish out, and then tomorrow is going to be major with key earnings kickoffs and the CPI. So far, we had a pretty decent reversal yesterday, setting up for a potential percent B buy. We have the mega cap stronger today, so that's what we're looking at now. Chips are stronger today. Sort of a pretty substantial reversal in chips yesterday too. Consumer, cyclical, technology, industrials, financials leading higher. The only thing really lagging is energy and a little consumer defensive. Fed watch. Let's see if this has changed based off the PPI print. Let's see. Yeah, now it's first cut back in July. So we're pausing into July. Yes, before it was the first cut in September. Now but it's still pricing only one cut this year. One cut somewhere in late summer. Fear and greed, we're still solidly in fear mode. PE ratio still 37. Still an expensive market. Good morning, Ted. In terms of KB Homes, which was rescheduled earnings, was a beat yesterday. Nothing really today. But tomorrow, remember, we got banks kicking it off. JP Morgan, Citi, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, BNY. So tomorrow is important besides the CPI number. So remember that even if you're not trading the banks, they can have a pretty decent impact on the markets. All right. So we've pulled back a bit. My key level already was this 59.15, 59.16 where it ran up to. Right now, I'm going to be watching how we finish the day. I'm paying attention to yesterday's high. We already dipped below it a little and then bounced back up. So I'm paying attention to yesterday's high prices, period. Yesterday's high price was again at 58.8325. So if we dip down there, I'm watching for bounces off of there. Critical level for me to hold is yesterday's close for anything bullish, 58.7450, so roughly 58.75. We start breaking below that, I'll be watching for the rollover play. And then personally, what I would be doing is the harmonics from yesterday's low, and then looking from today's high, and then it'd be 58.63 roughly, right around yesterday's open, and then 58.50 is at this point is critical. But that's what I'll be looking at so far. If we do continue to rally and rally back, I'm back to 59.16 area to about 59.25 as a target area. If we got into some reason for a rip your face off rally, the next major level would be right around back at 59.50. That's everything I'm looking at. Same with, now remember, cycles are at the bottom. So unless we get something that short circuits it, which we very well could if CPI comes in very hot tomorrow or bank earnings aren't very good, watching for at least a potential few day bounce or consolidation or sideways consolidation. Now, the percent beat buy potentially is in the NASDAQ. That, though, has to close above 21,037. My key resistance level is about 21,158 to 160, and then above that would be about 21,215, 200 to 215. So those are my two key levels to the upside. If it did have a rip your face off rally, I'd return to my next target area would be the 50, hooking over 50 EMA. So right about 21,300. So that's where we sit right now. If we do roll over, pay close attention, which you've already tested yesterday's close. That's going to be key to the downside, 20,947. We start losing that. I'm focused on the rollover play, and then going to do the same thing with the S&P with the harmonics. The Dow, we've bounced off the 200 yesterday, back to the rotation zone. If we did continue higher, although the Dow's been pretty weak, my major level of resistance is just about 43,000. So that is very, very key on the Dow for me. The minor level go up before 43 is 42.9. And again, in case you're wondering, I'm watching on any pullback. I'm doing the same thing in all these. I'm looking at if we do drop below yesterday's close, I'm going to be watching the 50% harmonic, 42,378 and 42,275. Just trying to show you what I'm exactly doing. What's this? Mike and anyone else in here? My study focus last year was probabilities. I want to study risk this year. I've been listening to Howard Marks from Oak Tree Capital. Who else would I recommend? I'll have to think about that one. Good morning, Richard. Let me see if I can come up with any other good names. I'll think about that. It's a little tough during the live stream. So potential percent beat buy also in the Russell, but remember, these are against the rotation zone, so they don't have to bounce that far, and we've already hit the rotation zone. So unless this was traded on an intraday basis overnight, can it continue up if it still closes above there? Yes. But the key area is 2,210.8. Now, we came off the second target. I'm still expecting a Russell to roll over lower. Not necessarily today, though. So that's what I'm paying attention to there. The VIX dropping, especially yesterday, key reversal with the rally yesterday. The DAX, again, still major resistance is 20,500 to me on any rally. If we went through that, I'd watch for a retest of the 87.5, which would not have invalidated the potential double top. You can see it here on the weekly basis. And by the way, the rotation zone on the weekly is getting out. So if this rolls out of the way, if this rolls over, could be a pretty decent pullback in the DAX, but we're nowhere near triggering that yet. Slight little bounce on the notes, but then rolling back over. You can see there on the yields, there was a pullback. You can see just a little pullback and now bouncing back up. So the yields still aren't impressed with those PPI numbers after hitting a 4.8 handle yesterday. So it's still a question, are we returning to the 5 handle? Now, cycles are at the top, very overbought on the weekly and the daily. So if the CPI number prints better than much better than expected tomorrow, I'd be watching for at least a short-term pullback in yields. If it's hotter than expected, this thing could just keep running. So I'd be in trailing mode, personally. Dollar index still sideways basing with the rotation zone catching up. Not much else to report there. Holding key support still. The only thing that changes me in the dollar index is we start closing below 108 from bullish mode. Crude. Not much. We're very overdone. We're against some pretty key resistance from before, so I'm watching for at least a pullback now. I'm going to be watching how this reacts to about 76, 25, 76 area. That's what I'm paying attention to at this point. Gold, trying to hold very key support. Now remember, we have daily cycles going down, weekly cycles going up, so we're in a mismatch cycle, but I'm going to be watching again once we get to daily cycle bottoms and possibly another round of top and bottom on weekly cycles for the longer term play, unless we close above 2007.29. We close above there, then that again shifts the probabilities higher. Silver, after completing the double, just continuing to pull back, and I'll be watching how this reacts at the prior lows if that pulls back that far. Does anybody watch the 10-year yield in the yen? Hitting a high of 1.25 yesterday. Now the yen, interesting enough, is working out its very overbought condition by moving sideways. So, let's see it here. So far, a 4-week sideways move, letting those weekly rotation zone catch up. So I will still be watching for a potential yen breakout play higher. Not much to talk about with the euro. Any bounce play here is in the rotation zone. The spiders, after a reversal yesterday, again, there's only the percent B buy potential in the futures. The key levels I'll be looking at in the spiders, we already, with the reversal yesterday, filled the gap. So I'm roughly looking at about 583.80 to 584.50 as the first key major resistance level. We're slightly above that 583 level right now. On a rollover play, it would be to the gap fill, 581.39, and major resistance for me is 586. Good morning, Anissa. The Qs also not yet to the gap fill. So to the gap fill is to this 507.19. We're trading above there right now. So the next major level to be is about 509.80. And then we're looking at 512 if you can even get that high. Good morning, Heinrich. What else do we have? We have a little bounce after yesterday. We had the selling pressure right down to the next harmonic and then a snapback. But pay attention for Bitcoin traders, how it closes in relationship to yesterday's high. Because if it does close above there, it could be for a continued bounce for a couple days, especially if the market's going to rally mode tomorrow with either earnings or with the CPI numbers. Tesla bounced yesterday. There still is a potential double bottom, and Tesla did trigger a percent B buy yesterday with a close above Friday's high. Next critical level on Tesla is 426.43. Nvidia still to the upside, has a gap fill left behind to 135.91, and it looks like we're going to fill that on the open. And then the major resistance for this is 140. So on any bounce play, that's major resistance. Broadcom dipped below the rotation zone, but still closing above the flattening out rotation zone. So very substantial resistance coming in at right around 230.65. If it does rally above that, 234.75 is the next key target there. trying to think what else. I mean, these markets aren't looking incredibly healthy, but we are coming out of nearly oversold conditions with cycles at the bottom. So it's all going to depend uh, on those CPI and earnings numbers tomorrow. So today I'm going to err on the side of potentially choppier. Yesterday we had the rally mode back on. Today we're going into PPI, but I'm going to be paying attention especially to this high that's already been established, 559.1850, and the low that was established over the last 4-hour bar of 58.7450. That's what I am looking at. Other than that, I don't see much going on to talk about. By the way, pay attention with Apple also. If Apple does close above yesterday's high, could be a little snapback rally, but to a gap fill potentially at 236.93. Again, I am not strongly favoring these rally plays until we get the CPI out of the way. So, because we're against rotation zones, so you have to be nimble from my perspective. This is not just something buy the dip and walk away. All right, that's really about it. There's no point. I don't see any other questions. I don't see anything else that I missed for stocks. So I will talk to everyone tomorrow. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I'll talk to you all later. Bye for now.